All right, so you're thinking about diving into the world of aquaculture environmental analysts, huh? And you're prepping for that big interview. Well, good news. We've got you covered. We've got a stack of RoleCatcher guides right here. Career overviews, interview questions, even insights into their AI tools. It's like having a cheat sheet for your career.
It's true. Being prepared is key, and RoleCatcher definitely gives you a leg up. But first things first, let's paint a picture of what this role actually looks like.
Okay, so what exactly does an aquaculture environmental analyst do all day?
In a nutshell, they assess, plan, and implement programs to protect our aquatic friends, both plants and animals.
Ah, got it. So it's not just about peak then, it's the whole underwater ecosystem.
Exactly.
But where do these analysts actually work? I'm picturing labs and maybe some scuba gear.
Well, you might find yourself on a boat occasionally, but think more along the lines of offices, labs, and definitely field sites like aquaculture farms.
Okay, so if you love the outdoors and science, this could be a dream come true.
Absolutely. Plus, with the growing focus on sustainability, this field is hot right now. High demand equals exciting opportunities.
Okay, I'm already hooked, but let's be real. Every job has its downsides. What are we looking at here?
Sure, it can be physically demanding at times, and the hours might be irregular, early mornings, maybe some weekends. But if you thrive under pressure and you want your work to have a real impact, the trade-off might be worth it.
Makes sense. So, high demand, impactful work, and maybe a tan. Not bad.
Ah.
But interviews can be scary. That's where RoleCatcher's AI comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Their AI is like your personal interview coach. It helps tailor your CV or resume to each specific job. It highlights the skills employers are looking for, takes the guesswork out of it.
Okay, I like that.
And their Get Discovered feature is genius. Employers actively searching on RoleCatcher can find you. Talk about standing out.
Okay, now that's a game changer. But let's get down to business, those interview questions. RoleCatcher provided some real brain twisters, but luckily you're here to help us crack them.
I'm ready.
Okay, so first up, explain your experience in aquaculture environmental management. Sounds simple enough, right?
It seems straightforward, but it's actually your chance to really shine. Don't just list your past jobs. Think accomplishments. What were your roles and responsibilities, and what impact did you make? They want to see the depth and relevance of your experience.
So instead of saying something like managed water quality, I should say, improved water quality by 15%, leading to a 10% increase in fish survival rates. Quantify, quantify, quantify.
You got it. And here's a pro tip. Research the company's values beforehand. If sustainability is a big deal for them, highlight projects where you minimized environmental impact.
Okay, makes sense.
And guess what? RoleCatcher's AI can actually analyze company websites and annual reports to give you these insights.
Well, it's like having a research assistant, so tailor the answer to their priorities. Got it.
What if they ask, tell me about a time you had to balance environmental concerns with production goals? That's a classic. They're looking for conflict resolution and critical thinking skills. Think of a project where you had to make tough decisions, maybe negotiate with different teams, and find a solution that benefited both the environment and the business.
Okay, so it's a balancing act. Got it. Let's move on. What are the major environmental challenges facing the aquaculture industry today? Time to get serious.
Definitely. This one is testing your industry knowledge. So you'll want to mention things like water pollution from fish waste or excess feed, the spread of diseases, and the impact on wild fish populations. And don't forget the big one, climate change.
Oh, right.
It's affecting water temperatures, ocean acidity, putting extra pressure on aquaculture.
Right. And if the company emphasizes sustainability, mentioning these climate change impact shows, I'm thinking about the long term. But it's not just about listing the problems, right?
You got it. They want solutions. For example, if you mention water pollution, talk about recirculating aquaculture systems, or RAS.
Oh.
Yeah. These systems minimize waste by filtering and reusing water. Imagine them like a super efficient fish tank.
Oh, like a self-cleaning fish tank.
Exactly.
That makes sense. What about something like integrated multi-trophic aquaculture, IMTA? That sounds complex.
It is complex, but it's also super cool. IMTA is basically creating an ecosystem within the farm. So you raise different species together, fish, seaweed, shellfish, and they all benefit from each other. The waste from one species becomes food for another, minimizing environmental impact.
That's amazing. It's like nature's own recycling system. Okay, next question. What steps do you take to ensure compliance with environmental regulations? Sounds a bit dry, but important.
Absolutely. This is all about showcasing your meticulousness and understanding of the rules. Talk about permits, monitoring protocols, reporting procedures, anything that shows you're a stickler for the legal framework. And don't just say, I follow regulations. Be specific.
Okay, so I could say, I developed a monitoring plan that exceeded regulatory requirements, resulting in 0 compliance violations at my previous company. Give them proof, not just promises.
Now you're talking. And remember those acronyms we talked about? Mention specific regulations you're familiar with, things like the Clean Water Act or the Endangered Species Act.
Right.
RoleCatcher's AI can actually flag which regulations are most relevant to the specific job you're applying for.
Okay, that is so helpful. Okay, next up, what steps do you take to minimize the environmental impact of aquaculture operations? Sounds similar to the last one, but with a different angle.
You're right. This is your chance to showcase your commitment to sustainability. So think about specific actions you've taken beyond just following the rules. Have you optimized feed formulations to reduce waste? Implemented energy-efficient systems? Maybe even restored habitats impacted by aquaculture?
So if I led a project that converted fish waste into fertilizer, creating a closed-loop system, that would be a good example.
Perfect. It shows you're not just following the rules, but actively seeking innovative solutions. And be ready for follow-up questions like, how do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in sustainable practices?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd mention conferences, industry journals, online forums, anything that shows I'm committed to continuous learning. But let's be honest, it's hard to keep up with everything.
I hear you. That's where RoleCatcher comes in again. Their platform offers a ton of resources, career guides, skill guides, industry news, all to help you stay ahead of the curve.
Okay, so it's like having a personalized news feed for your career. I like it. All right, next question. Can you describe your experience in conducting environmental impact assessments? This feels like where things get really technical.
It does get more in-depth. Here, they want to see your analytical skills and your ability to predict and mitigate risks. So walk them through a project where you identified potential impacts, maybe on water quality, habitats, or nearby communities. Explain how you collected data, analyzed it, and came up with solutions to minimize those impacts.
So if I assess the impact of a new aquaculture facility on a sensitive coastal ecosystem, I'd explain the data, the models I used to predict impacts, and then my suggestions for mitigation. Maybe relocating the facility or adding buffer zones. Details matter.
You're on the right track. They want to see your methodology and the positive outcomes. And be ready for a follow-up, like, what were some challenges you faced during that assessment, and how did you overcome them?
Oh, that's a good one. I talk about navigating different stakeholder opinions, data limitations, or even unexpected environmental factors. It's about showing I can adapt and problem solve.
Exactly. Now let's tackle question 6. What is your experience in using environmental modeling software? This one might sound intimidating if you're not a tech whiz.
Okay, deep breaths.
Okay.
What if I'm not an expert in every software out there?
Honesty is key. If you have experience with specific software, great. List them and describe the projects you use them for. But if you're not an expert, highlight your understanding of modeling principles and your willingness to learn.
Okay, so I could say something like, while my main strength is field data collection and analysis, I understand environmental modeling basics, and I'm a fast learner when it comes to new technologies. Is that a good approach?
Perfect. It shows self-awareness, a growth mindset, and adaptability. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can give you feedback on your answers, suggesting industry-specific software to mention. They even offer skill guides to help you brush up on those programs.
That's incredible. It's like having a personalized tutor. Okay, on to question 7. Can you discuss your experience in managing water quality in aquaculture systems? Back to the practical stuff.
Yes, time to show off your hands-on expertise. So discuss your experience monitoring those key water quality parameters: temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, nutrient levels. Explain the techniques you've used to maintain optimal conditions. Things like water exchange, aeration, or filtration.
So I could describe a project where I tackled a water quality issue, maybe an algal bloom that threatened fish health. I'd explain how I identified the cause, implemented corrective measures, and got that water quality back on track.
Excellent. Specifics are key. Mention equipment you've used, data collected, and the outcomes you achieved, and be ready for a follow-up like, what are the most important factors to consider when managing water quality in different types of aquaculture systems?
Okay, that's where I need to show. I understand that different species have different needs. Water salinity, temperature ranges, stocking densities, it all plays a role. It's about adapting my approach to each unique situation.
You're absolutely right. Adaptability is key in this field. Now, let's move on to question 8. What is your experience in working with regulatory agencies? It might not be as exciting as water quality, but it's crucial.
Definitely. We've got to play by the rules, right? How do I impress them with my regulatory know-how?
By showing you understand the process and can navigate those sometimes confusing bureaucratic waters. Talk about specific agencies you've interacted with, like the EPA or state environmental agencies. Describe permits you've obtained, inspections you've undergone, and any collaborations with regulators to resolve issues.
So instead of just saying I've worked with regulatory agencies, I could say something like, I have experience obtaining NPDES permits for aquaculture discharge and worked with state regulators to develop monitoring plans that ensure compliance with water quality standards.
Exactly. Be specific. Use the right terminology, like NPDES permits, which are basically permission slips for discharging wastewater. And show you're comfortable in that regulatory world. They might even follow up with, tell me about a time you disagreed with a regulatory decision. How did you handle it?
Ooh, that's a tough one. But it's a chance to showcase diplomacy and negotiation skills, right?
Right.
So I could talk about a time when I presented scientific evidence or alternative solutions while maintaining a respectful and collaborative relationship with the regulator.
Exactly. It's about finding common ground, even when you disagree. Now, are you ready for the next question?
Bring it on. Question 9. Can you describe your experience in conducting environmental risk assessments? This sounds a bit like the impact assessment question, but with a different focus.
You're right. This one dives into your analytical and predictive skills. They want to see how you identify potential hazards, assess their likelihood and severity, and develop strategies to mitigate those risks.
So I could describe a project where I assessed the risk of an invasive species entering an aquaculture facility. I'd explain how I identified potential pathways of introduction, evaluated potential ecological and economic impacts, and then recommended preventative measures like biosecurity protocols or early detection systems.
Great example. Remember, be detailed. Highlight your methodology and focus on proactive risk management, they might ask. How do you prioritize different environmental risks when resources are limited?
That's a tough one. It's about balancing potential consequences with the feasibility of mitigation. I could discuss using risk matrices to rank risks based on their likelihood and severity, then allocate resources accordingly.
You've got it. It's all about making informed decisions and justifying your approach. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you practice these complex questions, refining your answers and hitting all the key points.
That's such a valuable tool. Okay, we're on the last question, and it's a big one. Can you discuss your experience in developing and implementing environmental policies and procedures? Time to show them I'm not just a follower, but a leader.
Exactly. This is where you demonstrate your ability to translate knowledge into action. Talk about specific policies or procedures you've developed, whether it's for water quality management, waste disposal, or emergency response. Explain how you got buy-in from stakeholders, implemented training programs, and monitored compliance.
Okay, so I could describe a project where I developed a comprehensive environmental management system, or EMS, for an aquaculture facility. I'd outline the steps I took from conducting a gap analysis, basically figuring out what's missing, to defining roles, developing monitoring protocols, and establishing corrective action procedures.
Fantastic. You're painting a picture of a proactive, organized, and results-oriented professional. Be ready for a follow-up like, how do you ensure that environmental policies and procedures are effectively communicated and understood by all staff?
That's all about clear communication, accessible training materials, and ongoing support. I could talk about a multi-pronged approach that includes workshops, online resources, and regular check-ins to ensure everyone is on the same page.
You nailed it. And this brings us back to continuous learning. The aquaculture industry is constantly evolving, so staying ahead of the curve is crucial.
Absolutely. And RoleCatcher can be a huge help there. Their platform gives you access to industry news, research updates, and even personalized career advice. It's like having a personalized library tailored to your professional development.
Exactly. They've taken all the guesswork out of career advancement. But before we wrap up this section, remember, don't just memorize these answers. Use them as a framework to develop your own stories, highlighting your unique experiences and strengths.
Great advice. It's about showcasing your authentic self while demonstrating your knowledge and passion for this field. We've covered a lot, but there's more to explore. In the next part, we'll delve into the different career stages, giving you a roadmap for growth and advancement in this exciting field.
Stay tuned, folks. There's a whole world of opportunities waiting in the fascinating world of aquaculture. Welcome back to our deep dive into the world of aquaculture environmental analysts.
We've tackled those tricky interview questions, but now let's look beyond the interview itself. What happens after you land that dream job?
Right. It's not just about getting a job. It's about launching a career. And luckily, RoleCatcher gives us a fantastic roadmap of the different career stages, from entry level all the way up to management.
Okay, so let's map out this journey. What can someone expect when they're just starting out? Is that usually as an aquaculture environmental technician?
Exactly. Picture yourself as that hands-on member of the team. You're out in the field, boots on the ground, collecting water samples, monitoring those crucial water quality parameters, assisting with the environmental assessments, basically making sure the day-to-day operations run smoothly.
So it's all about getting those practical skills, learning by doing.
Absolutely. You're building that solid foundation, understanding the nitty-gritty of the job, and you're developing those core skills, data collection, analysis, and reporting. It's all about those details.
And RoleCatcher actually gives an example profile of a typical technician, right? What does that look like?
They do. It's someone with a strong background in environmental science, likely with a bachelor's degree in a related field. They're comfortable with data analysis, highly motivated, detail-oriented, and most importantly, eager to learn and grow.
Sounds like the perfect starting point. So what's the next step up the ladder? Is that when you become a full-fledged aquaculture environmental analyst?
You got it. This is where you step up and take on more responsibility. Remember those environmental impact assessments and management plans we discussed? That's a big part of this role. You're also collaborating more with stakeholders and really driving those sustainable practices.
So you're moving from data collection to data interpretation, making recommendations, and having a real impact.
Precisely. RoleCatcher's example profile for this stage highlights someone with a master's degree, maybe in aquatic ecology or environmental management. They're analytical, results-driven, and have a proven track record in environmental assessments and mitigation. They can really walk the walk.
Okay, I'm seeing a pattern here. More education, more experience, more responsibility. What's the next rung on this ladder?
That would be the Aquaculture Environmental Coordinator. Now you're stepping into a leadership role. Think. Coordinating those monitoring programs, developing strategies for risk reduction and sustainability, and ensuring the entire operation is compliant with those ever-important regulations.
Okay, so it's not just focusing on one project anymore. It's overseeing the big picture, working with teams, and making sure everything aligns with the company's environmental goals.
Exactly. You're the conductor of the orchestra, making sure everyone is playing in harmony. And RoleCatcher paints a picture of a dynamic and results-oriented coordinator. Someone with a PhD in aquatic environmental science, strong leadership skills, and a proven ability to drive sustainability initiatives. They're the change makers.
Wow, that's impressive. So is there like a final destination on this career journey? What's the top rung on this ladder?
There is. The pinnacle of this career path is the Aquaculture Environmental Manager, the ultimate decision maker and strategist.
Okay, that sounds like a corner office with a view. What does this role really entail?
Think big picture. You're developing and implementing environmental policies for the entire organization, overseeing all compliance activities, managing those crucial relationships with regulatory agencies, essentially leading the charge for sustainable aquaculture. You're the voice of the environment within the company.
So you're the visionary, the champion for the environment, making sure the company is not just profitable, but also responsible and ethical.
That's it. RoleCatcher's example profile describes someone with an MBA in environmental management, strong leadership and communication skills, and a proven ability to navigate those complex regulatory landscapes. They're the ones steering the ship towards a sustainable future.
Okay, I have to admit that career trajectory is pretty inspiring. But let's be realistic. Not everyone is going to climb all the way to the top. Is there still room for growth and specialization, even if you don't become a manager?
Absolutely. There's so much room to carve out your own niche within this field. You could focus on specific areas that really resonate with you, like water quality, habitat restoration, or even diving deep into policy development.
Right. And RoleCatcher mentioned additional certifications that can boost your resume, like an aquaculture certificate or an environmental impact assessment certification. It's like adding those extra tools to your toolbox.
Yes, those certifications demonstrate your specialized knowledge and commitment to professional development. They can really give you an edge in a competitive job market. It shows you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk.
And speaking of getting that edge, RoleCatcher's AI tools can be really helpful, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to showcasing your skills and experience.
Absolutely. Remember, their AI can analyze those sometimes confusing job descriptions and pinpoint the skills that specific employers are looking for. It helps tailor your resume and even provides feedback on your interview answers, giving you that extra boost of confidence. It's like having a personal branding expert on call.
Okay, so we've explored the different career stages. Any other tips for someone just starting out in this field? What's the secret sauce?
Well, networking is key. Get out there and meet people, attend industry events, join professional organizations like the World Aquaculture Society, connect with folks on LinkedIn. Building those relationships is essential in any field, but especially in a growing and dynamic one like aquaculture. It's all about who you know, but also about what you can learn from others.
And RoleCatcher actually has a whole section on networking, right? Don't they list organizations, events, even online forums where you can connect with other professionals?
They do. They've really thought of everything to help you succeed. And another crucial tip, never stop learning. This field is constantly evolving, so stay curious. Keep up to date with the latest research, technologies, and best practices. Read those journals, attend those webinars, be a lifelong learner.
And RoleCatcher makes that easy with their access to industry news, scientific journals, and career guides. It's like a personalized library tailored to your professional development. Speaking of learning, we covered a lot of ground with those interview questions. But is there anything else we should keep in mind as we prepare?
You know, it's not just about reciting facts or showcasing those technical skills. You also want to demonstrate your passion, your enthusiasm, and your commitment to making a difference in this field. Let that shine through.
Right. It's about connecting with the interviewers on a personal level, showing them that you're not just a qualified candidate, but also a great fit for their team and their culture. Skills are important, but so is personality.
Exactly. Be genuine, let your personality shine through, and don't be afraid to ask thoughtful questions. It shows you're engaged and genuinely interested in the work they do. Remember, an interview is a two-way street.
Okay, I'm feeling ready to tackle those interviews.
Mhm.
But before we send our listeners off to conquer the world of aquaculture, I think it's time for a quick recap of everything we've covered today.
I agree. Let's distill those key takeaways and get you prepped for success.
Okay, so let's do a final recap of our Aquaculture Environmental Analyst deep dive. We started by exploring this exciting role, this blend of science and detective work, protecting our aquatic ecosystems while supporting a growing industry.
Yeah, it's a really unique field. We talked about those diverse work environments from labs and offices to getting your hands dirty out in the field.
Right.
And remember, the positive impact you can have is huge, ensuring sustainable practices for healthier oceans.
Absolutely. Then we jumped right into those tricky interview questions. We really dissected each one with strategic approaches and potential follow-ups.
Yeah, we wanted to really get you thinking on your feet.
Exactly. From showcasing your experience to highlighting those all-important quantifiable results. I think we covered it all.
I think so too. We tackled those tough questions about industry challenges, regulatory compliance, and even the nitty-gritty of water quality management.
Right, right.
And remember, showcasing your passion for sustainability and continuous learning, that's key.
Couldn't agree more. We even dove into the world of environmental modeling software, navigating those regulatory waters,
Yeah,
and assessing those critical environmental risks.
it was a lot to cover.
It was. But with the right preparation, you can handle anything they throw at you.
Absolutely. And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI tools are your secret weapon.
Oh, yeah, those tools are amazing.
They can help tailor your resume, practice your answers, and even get you discovered by employers who are actively searching for talent. It's like having a personalized career coach right in your pocket.
Right in your pocket. Speaking of career paths, we explored that exciting journey within this field, from technician to analyst to coordinator, and ultimately to that coveted manager role.
Yeah, that's the dream for some people.
It is. We saw how each stage builds on the previous one, with growing responsibilities and leadership opportunities.
Right.
And remember, continuous learning and specialized certifications, those are your allies. They'll help you stand out in a competitive job market.
For sure.
So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, you're now armed with a deep understanding of the Aquaculture Environmental Analyst role. You have insights into tackling those tough interview questions, and you've got a clear vision of the exciting career paths that await you.
You've got the knowledge, the tools, and the resources to make a real splash in this field. But here's a final thought for you, something to ponder as you prep for your interview. The aquaculture industry is constantly evolving, with new technologies and approaches emerging all the time. So what cutting-edge trends could you bring up to show you're not just keeping up, but actually ahead of the curve?
Ooh, that's a great challenge. Think about innovations like offshore aquaculture, closed-loop systems, or even using AI and machine learning to monitor the environment. Do your research, showcase your forward-thinking mindset, and let your passion for this field shine through. Be the innovator. Be the change maker.
Go out there and make a difference.
We'll be cheering you on every step of the way. Well, that's it for this deep dive into the world of aquaculture environmental analysts. We hope you found it helpful.
Good luck with your interviews.
And remember, you've got this.